Well, good evening, folks. It's about 17 minutes till 5 p.m. here in Costa Rica, and I got a very special guest today. My guest today is Dr. Marie Jo Kane, who is an herbalist. She's a chiropractor, and she's basically into natural healing. Okay, and she's also an acupuncturist. And we are so excited about this particular product that we can't even see straight. I'll tell you what, about a week ago, I sent her a message because she was excited before she even got the product because she's been doing this kind of healing for a long time. She knew this technology was coming, and she got really excited because of all the testimonials out there. You can't get millions of people to just lie. It's an impossibility. Okay. So when I contacted her, she said to me, Mel, I just got my device today, and if you were here, I would kiss you. All right. And she took her device is the Rolls Royce. This is the Chevrolet. Okay. This is the home use one. She's got the bazooka. That's really heavy duty stuff. And she took that device to a gentleman who happens to be very wealthy. And this gentleman happens to have Lou Gehrig's and couldn't talk, couldn't walk, and so on. And she sends me the videos saying, you're not going to believe this. This gentleman is walking. He's talking. They're charging the water. You charge the water for about 4 minutes. You drink the charged water. It makes the water what? Wetter. When the water is wetter, what happens is it absorbs in your cells a lot more. When your cells are properly hydrated, you avoid something called disease. Okay, doctor, I know you had some personal experiences of your own. Talk to us about the water. Talk to us about Michael. Talk to us about your personal experiences. Tell us everything you've learned so far. I know you're so excited. All your patients want to buy the device for the home use because they realize, hey, this thing is working. I need to own one. And forget about the business opportunity, even though there is a tremendous business for somebody who's really ambitious to make a 5-figure income a month. I didn't stutter when I said that. A 5-figure, and there's people that are making a lot more than that. I won't even tell you those numbers because you'll have a hard time wrapping your mind around those numbers. I promise you. But let's keep it realistic. Forget everything else right now. Let's prove to you that we can get rid of the pain, that we can reverse a lot of the elements out there. Doctor, welcome to my show. And I'm so grateful that you're here. Really. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Mel. It's such a pleasure to be on your show. And of course, it was a pleasure just to meet you and talk to you on the phone. It was a patient of mine who, for some reason, started looking on the internet and said, you know, Dr. Kane needs a new machine. And he found you, he found the video, and he shot it right over to me. And it just blew my doors off. And I really started checking, and I checked the doctor who was speaking. I checked everybody's credentials. And I just went hunting around YouTube and the internet, and I just had to get one. So I had the two of them were ordered, and I got the bigger one. A friend of mine is a physical therapist who was head of a hospital for decades. And anyway, we got those. We just ordered another one. And from day one, I think when I spoke to you initially, I said, I have this patient with Lou Gehrig's. And to really prove to me that it would work, I wanted to try it. And that's what I said. I want to try this device on my patient. Well, I sent you the videos. I didn't do an initial. It was very busy in the house. They have dogs and all kinds of family going on. But I did do the video afterwards, and it was just shocking. You could tell that he's a handicapped person, but he couldn't speak at all. He was really on the decline. He was coming to my office, and then I hadn't seen him in a few months. And I went over, and after the first treatment, he was not texting me. He was able to speak. He was able to speak words. He couldn't speak at all before. And I think for many physicians, this is shocking to them. And in such a degenerative disease as Lou Gehrig's, especially if someone is more into the end stage, and to start to be able it's only been a week since I started using this from Wednesday to Wednesday. The turnaround has been amazing. I didn't see him after Saturday, and then I saw him on Wednesday, and he held. And there was such a decrease of inflammation. And the tendons, he had a paralysis on the right arm, and it was like a log, you could barely lift it. And doing the protocols that they tell you, especially with acupuncture, but doing the protocols on the body and under the the axilla and in the groin, and doing the reflexology points on the hands and the feet and the ear and everything. Just do what they tell you to do. And he was just able to lift, but his arm was as light as a feather instead of like a solid rock. And his walking was better, his talking is better. And yesterday he went to an Angels game. How do you feel after your terahertz treatment? Wow, you can speak. You didn't even have a word before. You have more energy. So you said the word energy. Wow. Terrific. Anything else, Mike? Wow, you just said a statement. I'm more loose. And Mike couldn't even say anything. All he could do was text. This is the very first treatment. Terrific. Walking down the hall, Mike. Now, Mike is walking normally. He was dragging himself. Literally dragging himself. Terrific. Unbelievable. This is the very first treatment. And Mike has ALS, Lou Gehrig's, myasthenia gravis. This is incredible. I can't even believe it. I'm so sorry, folks, that I didn't do an initial video. Thanks, Mike. So that's phenomenal. Another patient of mine who had a very severe arthritis and bursitis of the knee and a severe left shoulder bursitis and rotator cuff problem. I saw her last week, and she was in yesterday, and she said, Doc, after the first treatment, look, she's up and down with the arm. She says, I'm able to walk. And then after the treatment, it was even better. And as I was working on her leg, those doctors who are chiropractic physicians or chiropractors or physical therapists and physiatrists, people in the physical medicine realm of medicine, if you're working with a patient, as you're working on them, you can feel the tendons just unraveling, the deposits, the calcium deposits, just kind of melting just underneath your fingers. And using the heat, you don't need to use it too hot, but you're just going to see the pliability of muscles and tendons and nerves, and then to send them home, as I say, with the energized water, which you use your device over the water, energize it. You really kind of feel a buzz when you first start drinking the water. You can feel it. I know I could feel it go to areas where I had a problem. I mean, it just would zoom on in, and that's amazing. I mean, physicians are going to say, "What? What's this all about?" But over time, that day, and as the days go by, you're starting to feel better. Aches and pains are starting to go away, and that's just drinking the water. So what can happen if you're actually using the device? It's phenomenal. But again, it's in that certain terahertz wave frequency, and that's giving a whole new level to healing the cells. You're not just getting rid of pain here, the inflammation, you're healing the cells.
Well, here's the thing. What the machine is doing is not doing the healing. The machine itself is providing the atmosphere so that the cells can communicate properly under, like, let's just say the planet was under optimal atmospheric levels. The cells would normally, conduct themselves in its proper manner. It's the body itself that heals the body itself. We just provide the atmosphere so that the body reacts and knows what the cell's job is, and they act accordingly. and they create healthier cells, and you can't explain it. But when you're actually doing it, there's things moving about that you cannot explain because we're not scientists, but there are things moving about, and it's telling your brain, hey, the cells are communicating. Things are happening. This is a good thing. Your intuition tells you to keep going, correct?
That's correct. And it's working on the cell membrane, it's working on the nucleus membrane, and the main thing is it's getting to the mitochondria. And everything now is about mitochondrial health. We're talking about degenerative diseases like Lou Gehrig's, but Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, dementia. These are all defects of the mitochondria. And we know that our food, the GMOs, and the energy of our food is just not there. So how can we be energized if we're eating dead food? And we've talked about that in many of the health conferences for years. I mean, they would hold up a can of peas, but now it's not just a can of peas or carrots, it's everything that's come to the market. And so how much fiber is actually in there? It's how much vitamins and minerals and nutrients. And so people are getting sicker. And a lot of physicians in the last 20, 22 years, many of my colleagues we've gotten together and they've said, have you noticed the patients that we're seeing today are not as healthy as they were, because I've been in practice over 40 years, just not as healthy as they were 30 years ago or 40 years ago. And there's just this decline, and we're seeing it more and more and more in the young people. Yes, it's just a fast food society, but this is a lot different. And now we're seeing such chronic illnesses and diseases and disorder. But how this machine works, and I've taught physiotherapy, the part 1, part 2 in lecture and laboratory at Los Angeles College of Chiropractic way back in 1982, 40 years ago. And I was a question examiner for the interns and for the State Board of California, question examiner, making up questions, as well as the national boards. So I have been using physiotherapy, teaching it as in the undergraduate, in the chiropractic level, medical level, and postgraduate level for over 40 years. But this really came to my attention because we both spoke that I'm a lover of lasers, and I have a couple lasers, but this goes beyond the lasers. Yeah. It has impressed me beyond the lasers.
Now, you said something that really struck a nerve with me, Doctor, about 2 minutes ago. You mentioned the word dementia. And I don't believe my mom is getting dementia. I believe that because she's on these petroleum-based drugs that don't work and they make you go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. She's having some memory loss. Hopefully at some day, some point, maybe I can convince her to go see her. She's right there in Pasadena.
Well, one of the things I would first recommend is if she can have this water every day, a few times a day. Now, some of the people, the doctors that have spoken online, they say at least twice a day, and some of them are saying 4 times a day. Yeah. I definitely agree, because you will feel a change. It just takes all the sludge that's that's in there.
How do you apply the machine to help a patient that's suffering from dementia? What areas do you target, etc.?
I think again, they did a great job with the basics, going over the reflexology points of the hands, of the feet, the ears, and then going from the base of the spine and all the way up to the suboccipital area of the head, and going back and forth a few times, because there were some practitioners that talked about the stem cells and at the base of the spine, and we're bringing them up, and we're slightly heating the bone of the spine. We're not cooking. We're definitely not cooking the spinal cord, because that would be a problem. But what we're doing is stimulating the points of the body that go up through the spinal thalamic tracts of the spine and into the anterior pituitary. So we have beta endorphins that are released from the pituitary. We have 51 kinds of endorphins. If we're working on some acupuncture points on the body or motor points of the body, some of the physicians are more accustomed to calling the acupuncture points motor points. There will be a release of the endorphin. Now, endorphin stays in the blood 2 to 3 days, and the norphins are natural morphine-like chemicals that are released from the spinal cord, but stay in the blood 2 to 3 hours. Now, the thing is, when I saw Mike this past week, we had a little gap, which was good rather than see him every day or every other day. And it allowed these endorphins to start healing him, where I could see great progress and just letting the body heal itself. And I think a lot of physicians are going to like this, that, okay, it's not like I have to, be on this patient every day or every other day. Let's give them a little bit of a gap and have them come in and see the progress, especially in some of these really, I call them the wicked. And I think Lou Gehrig's is, and most physicians will agree with me, probably the most wicked of all the degenerative diseases. But, they talked about heart disease and different other organ problems. It's just it's a tune-up. It's a tune-up for your whole body, mind, and spirit. And many people have talked about the release of their emotions, that they weren't depressed anymore. I mean, can you imagine all the medications and herbs and different things that are chemicals or natural herbal chemicals or vitamins? And here we have a device that's activating you and balancing you, that you're just healing from the inside out. I like that without even having to take any type of substance. I think that's what we're looking for. There's some things on YouTube. I'm a lover of YouTube. Something called the binaural beats, and there's an information video, and I'll send that to you, Mel, and you can put that on your site, where if you listen to the binaural beats for 10 minutes, it can have a dramatic change. And a lot of it relates to the Rife frequencies. And we're talking about frequencies with this machine, and that's instigating these things in your body and on a cellular level. But Dr. Royal Rife was a biomedical engineer in the San Diego area in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s of California. And he said that every disease has a frequency. Isn't that amazing? Every disease has a frequency. And if you know the frequency, you can heal the disease. Well, the nice thing about now, even on YouTube, they have different frequencies and vibes for different diseases and disorders. And that's true. But the thing is, with this device, it works with your system naturally and heals you on whatever frequency that you need. So it's going to balance you. And then you have, since it balances the chakras, and the acupuncture points feed into the chakras, and the chakras feed into the organs. And if there's an imbalance along this freeway trip, you're sick. So this takes care of it. So the easiest thing, if anybody is physicians or lay people are using some of the layer machines, and then of course there's the more machines for physical therapists and doctors, chiropractors. But whatever machine you get, you want to start working on the reflexology points on the hands, on the feet. And everybody knows about the charts, and you have the charts as well, and I could send you some charts. But we noticed that if a person has a lump or a problem, and it may be, I'm in sports medicine, so suppose they have a strain or a sprain, or they've had maybe a fracture that wasn't healing too well, you may find that on the feet, the hands, or the ears especially. And you just go over with the device until you see the little spot. You can look at your acupuncture reflexology chart and note what that point is, whether it's an organ or whether it's a muscular skeletal, it's a leg or it's an arm or whatever. and work on that a little bit, just a few seconds. You don't have to, spend an hour on the point, just a few seconds. And that's how we work with acupuncture, with a lot of the electrical devices. And it may disappear, or you may find that as the days go by, gee, my shoulder is not as sore, as my knee is not as sore, my low back, gee, people are saying they have low back problems or disc problems. They're going away, they're disappearing.
Interesting. Now, you had mentioned about Michael. How many sessions has Michael gone through since the last time he sent me the video? I believe that was his first session, correct?
Yes. So he had 3 sessions last week, and he just had 1 session this week.
But you mentioned something. He went to a ball game
yesterday. Yes.
When was the last time he's been to a ball game?
Yeah, you tell me. Exactly.
Probably not for a long time.
A very long time. Exactly.
Yeah. So yesterday he went to a ball game, first time in a long time.
Yes, feeling better.
Feeling better. Amazing. Now you saw,
and he's working.
I'm sorry?
He's in construction. He's in construction, and he has his own company. And yes, he's working every day. And he's driving.
Wow. Now you saw Dr.
Now this is just a week.
Right.
Just a few days a week.
Right.
With Lou Gehrig's.
Interesting. Now you saw Dr. Melody, who was also a chiropractor. And when I did the video with her, I said, I looked at this thing, I said, there's no way this thing does anything. This is a joke,
Right.
And I run a channel. Yeah. I run a channel that has to do with investing in XRP, which we believe is going to be the next Bitcoin, etc. And I keep hearing people, I listen to what my people say. And my people keep saying, hey, I need to make more money because I need to buy more XRP. So this is an opportunity for people to actually earn a tremendous amount of money, because the entire planet, folks, I hate to tell you, the last time I checked, we're all sick. So
we're all sick.
Or another. Every one of us. Okay, the food, the air you breathe, the tailpipes, all the pollution coming out of the cars, the factories, the pesticides, the herbicides, the fungus, everything is designed to make you sick. Okay, so we're all sick, and we need this stuff like this.
We need the water and energize it to cleanse all that junk gas. Yeah.
So when Dr. Melody came on board and she tried it on herself, and she had 3 elements, and those 3 elements went away, and she went back to the office, didn't tell her patients her personal story. She thought she was having a placebo effect. And then she tried it on 3 patients with 3 different elements. One was a fireman, an entire wall of fire came down on him, and it started to work wonders. She started saying, wait a minute, then she did the podcast with me, the rest is history. Yeah. What are some of your other findings with some of your other patients that you can go over?
Well, one of the things, it loosens up the erector spinae, which are the muscles from our low back that go up to the skull. So being as a chiropractic physician, it's an area, because we walk on 2 legs instead of being 4-legged. So we have an awful lot of strain on our musculoskeletal system. And in acupuncture, the bladder meridian actually becomes a double meridian as it goes up the spine. And the acupuncturists will all know that. And it becomes a single meridian as it goes down to the feet. And so many people have kidney adrenal problems because we're stressed out. And one of the things that they talk about, even if you did nothing, didn't even use it on the acupuncture points for hands and feet and ears that we talk about in reflexology, is working on the spine and the paravertebral muscles, loosening them up and going into the cell with this machine, and people come off. And it's not just, I feel better, I feel looser. There's a psychological component in that, I think I feel better. I think I'm happier. I think I'm not as stressed, I think I'll take the easy way home instead of the freeway kind of thing. And we're just so stressed. And the other thing is they're making healthier choices by actually using this machine. Are they going to grab a soda, or are they going to grab an apple? There you go. Or as I say, get the water.
Yeah,
Energize your water.
you can't use the device on you and then you go back to old habits. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You have to change your lifestyle so that you can attack the problem. Yeah, of course.
It's changing your mind, and
Yeah.
you can use it over the head. Okay. And with the benefits that we've seen with Mike is the dysfunction of his speech, aphasia, dysphagia, is on the left side of the brain. So many doctors and therapists and physical therapists are going to want to work on that left side. And there's other areas of cognition on the right side of the brain, but you're able to work on the brain as well as the spinal area. And again, all the doctors and the therapists, if they weren't educated in acupuncture and the concepts, this machine and what we're teaching about using those reflexology points and acupuncture points, everybody will be brought up to snuff. One of the things with Mike is that we usually say large intestine 4, our professors used to tell us, takes care of everything from the waist up. And stomach 36 is a point just down a little bit from the kneecap. Okay, if you take your hand and put it over your knee, your fourth finger kind of falls in the well in between the tibia and the fibula. And that's stomach 36. And our professors would tell us that takes care of everything from the waist below. And in Mike, well, the pancreas, it not just digests your food, but it also, we need enzymes to kill cancer cells every day. So we have at least 5 or 6 cancer cells, and the pancreas enzymes kill that. Well, his disease is a degenerative disease, and we're talking about mitochondria, the death of mitochondria. And I was a little leery on that first day because his left knee area, the stomach 36, it was sunken in. It was literally sunken in. I thought maybe there was a fracture there. And as I worked on it, and then I went to other parts of the body, I looked back and it was becoming fresher. It was puffing up. And then, I checked it as acupuncture. I can check, what exactly is going on in the point. And it got healthier. It never, from the first day, it never was in that sunken position again. And it was sunken. It was dark. It was, he was definitely, again, one of the reasons why he was dragging his legs. And so you could see after the very first treatment, he was walking better. Now, I saw him the first 2 days, and then I skipped a day and saw him the 4th day. And at the beginning, he had just a little bit of a drag on his right leg, right paralysis. But after the treatment, you could barely tell there was anything wrong with him. And that's just after the treatment, So you just have to be a little diligent. If you have some knowledge of the acupuncture points, and many physicians understand what it's called motor points, you work on these points, and you're stimulating and going into the spinal thalamic tracts of the spinal cord up into the cerebral cortex, and beta endorphins are released from the anterior pituitary, and boing, and they just shoot all over the place. When initially they were studying this in the late 70s, early 80s, they were putting an isotope in the body to isolate these endorphins. And they found that if you were working on somebody's knee or foot, and the certain endorphins were for the knee and the foot, they also found, say maybe somebody had a lung problem or a stomach problem, they would find endorphin such and such number in their lung or their stomach. There's numbers on these endorphins, and they would find that the brain will release these endorphins to where else that you're sick. So you may have the doctors and the therapists may have physical therapists may have patients with a knee problem, but maybe they have chronic indigestion, or maybe a little Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, and they come back to you and say, oh, my knee's better, but my digestion's a lot better too, because you're releasing endorphins, as I said, for 2 to 3 days, and you're releasing the norphins, which are made in the spinal cord, for 2 to 3 hours. And this is an accumulative effect. So when I didn't see Mike for those few days over the weekend, and I saw him on Wednesday after that gap, it was like, oh my, I told the family, I told Mike, I said, you're getting better. I mean, and it's a fatal disease. I mean, I did have a professor who went in remission back in the 70s from Lou Gehrig's, but you don't hear too many people going in remission with Lou Gehrig's. It's a bad, wicked, as I call it, as all the physicians and therapists will say, it's a wicked disease. And yes, some people can slow down, but if some of the people that did not, and many times people didn't eat well, or they were involved in a chemical environment, and it's just like putting an accelerator on the gas pedal with a lot of the diseases. So when you see something work so quickly, but also the patient themselves saying, I think I'm just going to eat healthier today. I'm just going to, have more juices. I'm going to take my carrot juice. That mentally that they're making a note. Well, I'm not going to make arrangements with the undertaker today.
Yes.
That's a good sign.
That's a great sign. One of the things that I don't like, I got to be completely honest with you, is the fact I don't like to age. And I heard that this is amazing for your skin. Have you heard anything along those lines? Because
yeah,
I look amazing, right, for my age, right? And I want to keep looking amazing, right? So I'm blown by my face now. I'm loving it,
Well, this is one thing I found, that with Mike and the other patients, it had some little scars.
Okay.
That they were getting smaller and smaller, and things were fading away and healing away. And that I had seen on the internet about the device as well, that it speeds up the healing and speeds up scars, the healing of scars, and shrinks them and that sort of thing. So it's wonderful for skin. All kinds of testimonials on that. Amazing. And I noticed that on my patients. Absolutely.
Amazing.
I noticed them.
So you have worked on other patients that have also had success with this particular device.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And everybody's reporting success.
Yeah, and I have met a few physicians now that I've been asked to do a conference in September, and I'll be speaking on the device. But these other physicians actually had this machine, and they have the bazooka, as I call it, the bazooka.
Okay.
The therapist one. Yeah.
And
this is
the super duper model. This is the one.
Yes.
This is the Rolls Royce, because these machines have to be, they're commercial for her. This is a home use one, and they have one that looks exactly like this, which is a little higher in price, which is sort of like a middle ground. But hers, you can leave that thing on, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, and it's a workhorse. And it really,
workhorse.
Yeah, it really gets the job. Yeah.
And the thing about Mike, I was kidding him in the beginning. I said, I think we need to get you a bra because of the swelling and the inflammation. He had quite a bit of inflammation in and around the chest, and of course under the axilla with the lymph nodes, not so much in the lower as in the arms, the axilla. And after the very first, one breast was going one way and the other one was going the other way. They were breasts. Wow. And we were kidding with his wife that he had bigger breasts than she did. and after the first treatment and working on the axilla and everything, as a man, I said, well, you look like a man now. We don't have to get you the bra. But that just shows. The thing is with the water is that you've got to flush all this stuff out, because this is toxins, and every cell has a metabolism. So what the professors used to say is it's so important to drink water. And of course, this is bioenergized, terahertz water, is that the cells would put the trash out, for the trash cans, for the cells to put the red blood cells and white blood cells to carry all this junk away. And the problem where tumors and things can start growing is if your body trash accumulates. And that's what, as a doctor and as in chiropractic, I deal with body trash, because people come in so tight and so sore. And a lot of it is because they're not eating the fruits and the vegetables and having the fresh juices. I'm a big believer in Charlotte Gerson's juicing for degenerative diseases. And of course, the old timer Bernard Jensen was another one with the fresh juices. Norm Walker, God, they say he lived to be 114. And that apparently is the truth. And he lived out in Arizona, but I used to talk to him in the early 80s, I guess it was. I mean, he was the juice king. As a matter of fact, meeting Juice Man, Jay Cordish, and he was a great proponent of
I owned one of his juicers.
Yes. I used to sell juicers, and I have patients that go back from the 80s because I started my practice in 1979. Well, actually, December 1978. But I sold juicers, and when I was talking to Jay Cordish, he said, "Oh yes, the AEG juicer is from Germany. That's one of the best." And I guess his was very similar. But some of those juicers, my patients after 40 years are still using those juicers. They just don't die out.
They don't. They last forever.
But see, this is what I was taught when I was at the National College of Chiropractic. I graduated from LaSalle University, biology, chemistry in Philadelphia. But at National College, we actually had a hospital that at that time in the early 80s really accentuated macrobiotics, which is from Michio Kushi and the Japanese program of getting rid of degenerative diseases. And so I was quite familiar with it. And so I worked with them quite a bit. But the juices were king. Juices are king and fresh wood. But Norm Walker, his material in his books was the basics for the Juice Man. And Norm Walker had a book, and many of you who are looking at this video from YouTube have his book, Death Begins in the Colon. Death Begins in the Colon. If you see it on Amazon or at some of our conferences, buy the book. It's one of the greatest. But his book on juicing, Norm Walker's juicing, he actually has for every disease and disorder combinations of certain combinations. And every patient who had some degenerative disease, they all got it. They all had the books.
Interesting.
They got the books. Yeah.
Yeah, doctor, the only thing I'm going to ask you is only one thing, and we're gonna end the show right here. I'm gonna hit the pause button. We're gonna say goodbye to the audience. I want you to go see my mom. I need you at least a couple of treatments on her with the bazooka.
With the bazooka, it is.
Yes.
Oh, she'll be. Yeah. I'm sure we're gonna have just dynamic results with her.
Yes.
Just fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's all free. Remember I said all frequency and World Rife said every disease, I mean, even Alzheimer's, any of these things, every disease and disorder has a frequency. If you know the frequency,
you can destroy the disease.
And that's it. Really,
absolutely.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Agreed. To stay on with me, folks, thank you for joining us. She is amazing. And when you have more information on the device and more testimonials on your patients, please, by all means, we're going to try to add the 2 videos of Mike. We have to have his consent, obviously, to add the videos of the gentleman who couldn't walk, couldn't talk, and has got Lou Gehrig's, and all of a sudden he was lifting his arm. I saw the video myself, and he was walking, and he was talking. He says, everything feels a little looser, he said, right? Is that what he said? Okay.
Very first treatment.
Very first treatment, exactly.
First treatment.
Now he's on what? Treatment number 4, treatment number 5. What is he on?
Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4. He's just had 4, so he'll be having a 5th. I'm going to see him tomorrow, which is Sunday.
So he had 4 treatments, and he's at the ball game. With 4 more treatments, he might be playing tennis. You know what I mean? So, hey, thank you, doctor. Stay on with me. Thank you, folks, for listening. The links are down below. Make sure you go get more information. If you want a business opportunity out of it, that's fine. That's there too. If you want to get pain-free, click the link, get more information. If you don't get contacted right away, contact me personally via email. My email is very simple. It's qfs1776@gmail.com, and we will make sure that someone contacts you right away. Thank you.